I live on the 14th floor. That's high enough that, when you look out the window, you see nothing but the faint glow of city lights far below and the occasional blinking of an airplane overhead. There's no balcony, no fire escape, no ledge a human being could possibly stand on. That's why the first time I saw him, I froze. It was just after midnight. The rain had stopped, but the glass was still slick with droplets that shimmered in the glow of my desk lamp. I had been sitting at my computer, mindlessly scrolling, when a movement caught the corner of my eye, something pale outside the window. I turned my head, expecting maybe a bird, but instead, there he was. A man, floating. His head was tilted ever so slightly, like he was studying me, his expression almost blank, except for the smile. That awful, stretched smile that made my stomach knot. His skin was deathly pale, almost gray, with strands of wet, stringy hair clinging to his forehead. His clothes hung in tatters, dripping water that streaked down the glass where his hands pressed lightly against it. I wanted to scream, but my throat locked. I could hear my pulse pounding in my ears. Every rational thought tried to explain it, a hallucination, a trick of the light. Maybe I'm just tired. Then he tapped on the glass. It wasn't loud, but the sound cut through me like a razor. Tap, tap, tap. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. I pushed my chair back, heart racing, and grabbed my phone to call the police. But when I glanced back up, he was gone. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even move from my chair until the sun came up, convincing myself it was just a nightmare. I was wrong, because the next night, he came back. The second night, I didn't even try to pretend I wasn't afraid. Every single light in my apartment was on. I unplugged my headphones. I double-checked every lock, door, windows, even the cabinet under the sink, for reasons I can't explain. I told myself it was ridiculous, but the alternative was accepting what I'd seen. By 1:30 a.m., I'd almost convinced myself it had been stress, lack of sleep, maybe too much caffeine. I sat on the edge of my bed with a blanket wrapped tight around me, watching the window from across the room. Nothing. Just the faint orange glow of the city far below, distorted by raindrops that clung stubbornly to the glass from an earlier drizzle. I even started to feel stupid. Laughing under my breath, I muttered, "Get a grip. There's no such thing as tap, tap, tap." The sound was soft but sharp, each knock perfectly spaced like a metronome. It came from the window. I froze. My breath caught in my chest. Slowly, against every instinct, I turned my head. He was back. But this time, he wasn't just floating. He was pressed up against the glass so hard, the skin on his cheek flattened against it, distorting his features. His eyes... God, his eyes were too wide, the whites stretching until they almost swallowed the irises. His lips curled upward, the smile so exaggerated it looked like it would split his face in two. Droplets of water slid down his hair and clothes, but there was no rain. His left hand was splayed on the glass, long fingers spread wide, while his right hand lifted and pointed at me. Slowly, deliberately. I couldn't move. My body had turned to stone. Then his mouth moved, just slightly, and I realized he was speaking, but I couldn't hear it. I grabbed my phone and, without looking away from him, dialed 911. My voice shook as I told the operator that there was a man outside my 14th floor window. There was silence on the line. Then, in a careful, measured tone, she asked for my address. When I gave it, she went quiet again. I could hear faint typing in the background, and then she said, almost in a whisper, "Sir, we've had calls like this before. I need you to listen to me very carefully. Move away from the window, right now." A chill crawled down my spine. I stepped backward until my calves hit the edge of my bed. The man's smile widened. I turned toward the door, ready to grab my keys and get out, but the tapping started again. Tap, 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 only it wasn't from the window anymore. I turned back, and the glass was empty. The tapping came again, closer, from the bathroom door. 3 slow knocks. Tap, tap, tap. My stomach dropped. I stared at the bathroom door, willing it to stay still, but then the handle twitched, just slightly at first. Then it began to turn, slow and steady. My phone slipped from my hand and clattered to the floor. The operator was still speaking, her voice faint and tinny from the carpet. She was saying my name over and over, but I couldn't answer. The door creaked open an inch, then 2. It was pitch black inside, but something shifted in the darkness. A pale hand emerged, gripping the edge of the door. The fingers were wet, and droplets pattered softly onto the floor. The smell hit me next, a mix of damp earth and something metallic, like old pennies. I backed into the corner of my room, my eyes locked on the door as it opened wider. The pale man stepped out, his head tilted just like before, that smile carved deep into his face. He was dripping water onto my floor. He didn't walk toward me. He leaned forward, impossibly far, until his face was inches from mine. His breath was cold, and I could hear him now, words so faint they barely existed. "Let me in." The lights went out, and in the darkness, I felt his hand on my shoulder.